I watched this about Rob Reiner, and I think from Sunday night, from when we first saw that there was a homicide at his home, and we
Right.
knew the ages matched
The ages of both him and his wife.
it's like almost like your stomach dropped for a second. You're like, what could have happened? Because then it was a homicide investigation, and then the rumor came out about the son, and it
Right.
all is true allegedly. He hasn't
Right.
been charged with murder yet, but you tell us what
No,
happened.
no,
in
he
court.
has.
Oh, he
has
has
now
now arraigned.
Yes,
Arraigned.
yes. Yeah, today he was supposed to be arraigned in court in L.A. And that's the reason that he went to court. But his attorney, his defense attorney, asked for a postponement of the arraignment until January 7th, and the judge granted that. And then the judge looked at him because he was Nick was inside court today. But let's go ahead, we'll take a look at that because we can see the sketches. This is actual camera footage here from inside the court, and the cameras were allowed inside, but they were not allowed, this is his defense lawyer, they were not allowed to show Nick Reiner. Now, these are sketches, these are courtroom sketches, and what he's wearing right here is a suicide prevention smock to prevent him from attempting to commit suicide and being successful at that. You can also see the shackles around his wrists there. Now, he was sitting behind a glass wall, which is near the judge, and that's always there. It's an enclosed area that is set aside for the defendants when they appear in court. And he is charged with first-degree murder and the murders, stabbing murders of both his mother and his father. And again, that happening on Sunday night. And then I want you to go ahead and take a look here. I don't know if you've seen this yet, Richard, but this is surveillance footage. Let's go ahead and show that. And you can see Nick Reiner, that's him with the circle around him. He's walking around with that two-tone coat on, and he's carrying a red backpack. And this is at some point, investigators say, after he committed the murders of his parents. Then he's just casually walking around outside this gas station convenience store, and then he walks in and he picks up a drink and he goes up and he pays for the drink, and then he casually walks outside.
This is allegedly right after the murders?
Not right after, it's at some point after. This could have been hours later, because they're thinking that Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were stabbed to death sometime after midnight, so the early morning hours of Sunday. And then this is close to around 9 p.m. on Sunday night. And so after he's shopping around here, then he walks, and this is about 14 miles away from his parents' home. Then he walks outside, and it was moments after he walked outside that he was then arrested and taken into custody.
It's insane, right?
It
to
is.
even think that, you could be so casually walking around like nothing.
Yeah, like nothing ever
happened.
And then it's after he started, you can see him, he's going to go back in again, and then he comes out again, and then he walks across the area there where they're pumping gas, and he's walking along the sidewalk, and then that's where he gets arrested. But, his brother and sister, they have been, naturally, you can only imagine what's going through their heads. I mean, this is just so tragic. And they released
the daughter found him.
The daughter
found both her parents.
Yes, Romy is the daughter, and it's Nick's sister. But his brother and sister released a statement today, and I'm going to go ahead and read that because it reads in part that words cannot even begin to describe the unimaginable pain that we are experiencing every moment of the day. The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner, is something that no one should ever experience. They weren't just our parents; they were our best friends. And they are asking, for privacy naturally at this time, but they are also very grateful for the love and the support and the condolences that they are receiving, not just from people that they know, but from people around the world. Rob Reiner was a beloved person, and so was his wife Michelle. They were humanitarians, they were activists, they were kind, loving people, according to everybody that has spoken, publicly about them. And people really are still in shock.
I know, that's something, the thing is when you hear something like that, it's the least thing you'd expect. And then when it goes to a child murdering his parents, I mean.
Allegedly,
I know, you're right.
I know.
But then we go back, and then we have to go back to, like the Menendez brothers, like that's kind of like what it.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, you kind of like, you go back to that. That was, because I watched the Netflix documentary recently on that. Why do you think they asked to delay that arraignment today?
Because there is so much complicated evidence and information that the attorney says that he has to go over here. Because, you know, Nick has a very long history of mental illness and drug-related issues, drug addictions, and he had been in and out of rehab since about the age of 15, in and out of rehabs 18 times.
Wow.
His parents, according to everyone, and according to his dad, because he was, you know, public about this, they actually made a movie together back in, I think it was around 2015, called Being Charlie.
Yeah.
That's right. And they talked about the issues that they deal with, that they were dealing with, you know, as a family at that point, and a parent dealing with a child who has emotional issues and who is a drug addict. But imagine, in and out of rehabs 18 different times. And they were very concerned recently, according to reports, you know, Rob and Michelle were very concerned about their son because he seemed to be on a downward spiral recently.
Mm-hmm. His appearance even changed. If you
Yes.
look, like the appearance of him from a few years ago to a recent photo of him they've been
Right.
showing.
Looks like a totally different
Totally
person.
different person. Like he was
Right.
in a really dark place, obviously.
Right.
And I guess nobody, even his parents, they couldn't get through to him. And
No.
all those rehab stints, they couldn't get through to him. The
couldn't get
need
through.
for people to get help, because, you know, if there's someone like this, obviously there's others out there, right?
That's
so,
right.
you know, it's so difficult to even like try to digest and take it all in, because, you know, someone who's high profile like this, and his father, like we said, he was so accomplished and had such a career as, yes, a star on television, All in the
Right.
Family. And
Starting in the 70s,
that's
that's
when it
right,
started,
as
yeah.
Meathead.
And that was
his
really
br-
what
That was his
gave me-
breakout role.
That was his breakout.
Right.
And then him and Rob Reiner's father, Carl Reiner,
Right.
was so accomplished too on the Dick Van
Right.
Dyke Show. And then, you know, I was reading something. Dick Van Dyke, at 100 years old, couldn't sleep the other night, knowing that he
That this had happened.
this had happened. That
Yeah.
he couldn't get over it. Imagine that. Like,
Yeah. Well,
this
Rob
has really
Reiner's
rocked the whole
father,
community.
Carl Reiner,
Yeah.
worked on the Dick
Dick
Van
Van
Dyke
Dyke
Show.
Show.
So these people have been friends for decades and decades.
Part of Hollywood royalty, I guess.
It
you know,
is
like that.
part, yeah, absolutely. But you know what this case is also doing? It is spotlighting the intensity and the severity of mental illness
Yes.
and drug
yes.
addiction. Because here you have a family who has all the money in the world to be able to provide whatever resources are needed to help their son. And sometimes those resources don't work.
No.
It doesn't
work.
connect. It doesn't connect with the brain. And this apparently is one of those cases. And it's so tragic. But hopefully one of the conversations that will come out of this tragedy is the necessity for our culture, our society, to put more of an importance on people who are struggling with mental illness.
We sure hope so. You know, that's and you owe it to Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner's other children who are in such grief and sorrow, and that they can have some kind of closure with this. And you know, I can't even imagine. You know, it's a nightmare all around.
I
But
can't even imagine what every minute is like for them. Every
Horrible.
minute, you know, that they're awake every day.
Right. It's just
This
life
is-
will never be the same for
It
them.
will never be the same for them.